From a Japanese point of view, it feels very strange. Even I, who am not Japanese, think it is strange. If you are born and raised in Japan and respect Japanese culture, you are Japanese. That's a good point. Even though he only has episodes where his skin is washed to check if it is really dark, over-exaggeration, Yasuke is definitely not of the samurai class, since he was not given the surname Miura like William Adams. Why is it that the protagonist used to be a fictional local race or ethnic group, but when it's set in Japan, it's a real, different race? When will UBI, whose share price has fallen for 3 years in a row, self-destruct and raise the white flag? I'm just playing along, coming back to watch when I feel like it. A game that used to sell historical facts finally leans towards fantasy. Will there be magic in the next game, Hex? I realized how wonderful the Ghost of Tsushima was. Because foreigners created such a beautiful Japan. In comparison, this game will naturally catch fire on social networks. I don't want this. Give me Ghosts of Tsushima too. I realized that Ghost of Tsushima was a really great game. Ghost of Tsushima is really awesome. It's funny that Lord Nobunaga is made to carry a sword because Yasuke, who is supposed to be a sword-bearer, is on the battlefield on his own. The next new trailer was released and the developer said, "We're going to make this charming Yasuke the protagonist." In the middle of explaining this, the video was jacked by the assassin. This is Abstergo propaganda. The hero is not Yasuke. He is the real hero. That's how I would like to go to such a world line, where a cool, austere Japanese male assassin appears. We just wanted to play Assassin's Creed, our favorite series of games with realistic, beautiful, vast fields and cool assassins, with cool Japanese male assassins like Hiroyuki Sanada and Yutaka Takenuchi. That's all I really wanted. Oh, Yasuke, no. Not you. We now feel the discomfort that Sanada-san felt in Hollywood. This is going to be rough in the future. And if this doesn't sell, I don't want to get involved because they'll say the Japanese are racist. Hiroyuki Sanada stood up because he didn't want to be portrayed in this wrong way. Since it is Assassin's Creed, the ninja should be the main character. They could have released the Samurai Yasuke as DLC. Gave up on historical research to make Yasuke the main character. For God's sake, set it up that it was propaganda by Abstergo. In the West, this is shown more clearly than ever that Asians have lower priority than Africans. It feels as if the Japanese are being made to pay for their discrimination instead. After all, only Ghost is fine for Japanese assassins. It's funny how Yasuke wears armor and wields a club, and has zero intention of lurking in the shadows. When I looked at an interview with the creator, he said that the first reason he chose Yasuke was because we were looking for someone who could be our samurai, someone who could be our non-Japanese eyes, which made me laugh. The best part of Assassin's Creed is that you can enjoy the history and culture of a country from the perspective of someone who was born and raised there, right? Why do you do that as soon as Japan becomes the subject matter? Honor died with Assassin's Creed Shadow. I am sorry if this is a racist idea, but in this day and age, this kind of content makes it look like white people within UBI are doing charity work for black people, using the country of Japan as a groundwork. A few years ago I wouldn't have had that filter on me, but I really think woke was a sinful movement. Ghosts of Tsushima and Shogun. We have raised our expectations of foreign productions set in Japan too high, it seems. Don't destroy our culture. It's not that I don't like Black Samurai, but because it's set in Japan, I wanted to play cool Japanese reluctant samurai. You feel uncomfortable with Asian or black cowboys, right? It's like when you think you're going to get sushi, you get a California roll. It's delicious, but I wanted to have traditional Japanese sushi. If in the future you can make a game set in Africa with a Japanese main character, I'll forgive you. The moment the song came on I thought, what the hell? So it's past time to talk about Assassin's Creed being great at historical research. Zero people are happy that the main character is Yasuke, according to the theory. The Japanese should be happy that the famous Yasuke is a main character. I laughed when I saw a foreigner commenting on it. I thought it was realistic because the protagonist was a fictional character and the rest were real people, but if you make a real person the protagonist, the misunderstood bastards abroad will pervert this as historical fact. This is quite disconcerting in the current climate of historical research, where the prevailing theory is that he was simply a baggage handler. Complete fantasy. If you want to make a fantasy set in Japan, why not have more different races? It would be better to use magic at least. I was disappointed within less than 20 seconds when the sound of a sword being drawn sounded like a Western sword coming out of its metal sheath. The way in which a samurai of rank sheathed his sword was also strange and awful. The lack of respect for Japan was felt from this trailer. It's going to be a huge flop. I'm too curious about the song that's playing. How could they do such a terrible thing with the best subject matter, Assassin X Ninja? Are they going to say Yasuke was real, so it's not political correctness? It's stupid. A clifftop temple and a skyscraper-like castle. Pseudo-Japan is brewing. This is the first Assassin's Creed series that I swore I would never buy. It's a blasphemy against Japan and Japanese culture. Why do I have to control a black man in the long-awaited Assassin's Creed set in Japan? I'm so sad. I don't mind having Yasuke in the game, but I wish he had been kept in a minor role. Did Yasuke ever achieve anything? He went from being a slave to Nobunaga's swordbearer and fought as a bodyguard during the Hanoji incident, that's about it. After that, I think the story was that he returned to his former master via Mitsuhide. I fucking laughed at the background music. The real person wasn't the main character so far, he was an important NPC. People flooded in to see him, and the onlookers had a festival, you know? Isn't it too reckless to make that Yasuke the main character in a stealth game? It is true that Miura Anjin, the model for the protagonist in Nayu, was in fact a samurai, but what about Yasuke? This isn't about things like whether he's white or black. Seriously, the worst. I wanted to play a Japanese male assassin. How did this happen? UBI said, Ghost of Tsushima? I don't know shit about that. Why Yasuke? There was no legendary story, not much documentation left, just a glimmer of historical fact that he was a swordbearer. There's a terrible disregard for Asia. You're right. European and American descent are white men or try to follow history, but with Asia they don't care. They only think about external and political considerations. It's shitty. This kind of thing is called cultural appropriation. Using only the tasty parts of Japanese culture and consuming them as Western content with an emphasis on political correctness. Why did you choose Yasuke? Nonsense. Japanese men were used as a springboard for black men. It's a happy ending. I wasn't really interested in Assassin's Creed, but since it's set in Japan, I was curious and came to see it, and now I'm even less interested. Worst. Gains of racism against the Japanese. On the contrary, I think it is also racist against blacks. Ah, here come the black characters. You guys have reached your quota. That is the UBI of the world. Never touch Japanese culture again. Why only when it is set in Japan does it have to be Yasuke, who is not Japanese but a swordbearer? Even Hattori Hanzo and Sarutobi Sasuke were there, but political correctness is disappointing. I don't care anymore. I'll be holed up in Paris for the rest of my life. Same. I'm going for a walk with Arno. For now, can we say that Assassin's Creed is dead? It was a good game.